what you've seen on film, what's the big difference in George Washington this year? They've improved quite a bit.
Well, they added a terrific player in Maurice Creek, who's their leading scorer and a very dynamic scorer. And then all the guys that they have back from last year are much improved. And that's, to me, that's a function of hard work on the part of the players and great coaching on the part of the coaching staff. Those guys have really developed as players. I think none more than Keith and Savage. He's as improved as any player in the league from last year to this year.
They really didn't have much of a three-point threat last year. I mean, is that where Creek is most valuable to them? Is that where he makes the biggest difference?
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, he puts the ball in the basket, and he can certainly score from behind the arc as well as inside the arc. So he makes them very well-rounded as a team. And then, the other guys in their team have expanded their games as well. Savage and McDonald can make shots from outside. They've got some guys that come off the bench that are certainly three-point threats. So they're much more dangerous out there.
Are they kind of the poster children for how much better the league is this year maybe than it was last year?
Well, it was really good last year. It's just different, but I think they're as good an example as anybody of a team that was young last year that really got better and made progress, and then had some terrific wins, so far this year. And I'm not surprised at all at how they've done. Again, they're a really well-coached team. Mike Lonergan does a phenomenal job. They've got a great system, and those guys have all gotten better to a man.
Coach, the fact that there are no pushovers in the A-10 anymore, I mean, in the big picture of things, what can that do for you guys, going forward as we get to playoff time and tournament?
Well, it just means you got to come ready to play every night. I mean, there's really good teams in this league, and it's going to be competitive. I think you've seen if you look at the scores around the league so far, the games have been very, very competitive. Teams are going at one another. There's going to be an increasing level of familiarity as we go here in the league. So league play is tough no matter what league you're in, but certainly the Atlantic 10 is one of the best conferences in the country in basketball.
Coach, a lot of people have been talking about Briante Steele at the end of the game. Now you've had a chance to actually see it on video a couple times. How do you explain a player's ability to make a play like that at the end of the game when the game is essentially decided, it's over, to have that kind of drive still as the time's winding down on the clock?
That's just who he is, Greg. He just, he doesn't have an off button. He's a guy that plays the game with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and I could kind of see him while the game was going on. I could see him. I told him, don't let them roll the ball, because we actually were going back to zone. We were in zone defense, which we rarely ever play, and I just said, Bree, don't let them roll it all the way up the court so that we could make sure the clock was running. And you could see him measuring it, and you could see the look in his eye. I can get this thing. And so he went after it, and typical Briante, he didn't really worry about his body, or, he probably wasn't 100% sure he was going to get it. He just went after it.
Can that kind of play be sort of a catalyst? I mean, your effort on defense has been pretty solid and consistent all year, but can other players see that and decide they want to, maybe I'm not doing enough on defense, I can take it up a notch?
Our guys play pretty hard on D, Greg. I think definitely there's plays within games that can spark you and can serve as a catalyst. I think it's something that our guys talked about after the game, and hopefully it is a reminder of the way we want to go after plays.
Coach, the energy level is incredibly high here the other night from yourself, from the guys, from the crowd. What are things that yourself and the players can draw from on the road to get that energy level going that high?
Well, we have to bring more of it ourselves. Now, hopefully, we'll have a loud contingent of black and gold at GW. Our fans have always done a great job supporting us on the road. Those that can make it. But yeah, when you go on the road, you're just not going to have close to 8,000 behind you like we do here. So you have to bring the energy yourself on the floor. It's still 5 on 5 though. It's still our guys out there on the floor, going to make the plays they need to make.
Is it tougher to play in a gym that's quiet than it is to go into a hostile environment where, like a Dayton or someplace like that, where the other team's fans can get just as loud as yours here? Is it almost tougher to go into a place where there's a little more apathy and people are not as into it as they would be someplace else?
Well, I would imagine GW will be into it, but to answer your question in general, it depends on the player. Guys like Joey Rodriguez, he used to love that. When the gym was, the arena was packed, and there was all these people pulling against him. He used to complain about a few of the places in the CAA that we would go to that didn't really, have much of a following or much of a home crowd. Other guys, they look around and their eyes get kind of big, and they may be a little bit overwhelmed by the crowd. But I think, our guys have done a really good job over the time that I've been here at taking on the challenge of a big crowd, a hostile crowd. I think UVA's crowd was a record for that place, and our guys didn't bat an eye. We went in there, they were ready, and no matter how big the crowd is when you go on the road, the formula for winning is the same.
Hey, Coach, can you talk about kind of the emergence of Melvin Johnson? Seems like a guy who is instant offense. Anytime you put him out there on the floor, you talk about getting this place going when he hits a three and kind of gets that big smile on his face. He seems like kind of guy that can get you guys.
Yeah, he loves to score. I mean, he's a scorer. He's a shooter and he's a scorer. So that's something that he's wired to do, and not really something that we want to change. We need that, for him to come in off the bench and give us an impact, scoring the basketball. He's gotten a lot better in some of the other areas. Certainly gotten better on defense from last year when he was a freshman and didn't know what he was doing. He has an infectious way about him. I think his teammates like him a lot. So he definitely can help us and spur runs for us with his shooting and with his scoring. He's the one that more than anyone, should benefit from Troy Daniels' graduation, because a lot of those opportunities should go to Melvin. He's not getting three-point shots off at the rate that Troy did, but then again, not a lot of people do. But I think as we go here, he'll continue to get more and more.
What's the biggest difference for him, maybe on the defensive side of the ball? He looks a lot more comfortable out there.
Experience. Some freshmen typically don't know what they're doing on defense, and because they don't have the experience, they're a little bit uneasy and anxious, and then that can lead to more mistakes, and then they're looking over at the bench wondering if you saw the mistake. But Mike Rhodes used to pull Melvin when practice got done last year. He would pull Melvin onto one of the side baskets and make him get extra reps on stance off the ball, guarding screens, defensive rotations, and Melvin hated it. He looked at it as punishment. But as the year went on, he learned that it was not punishment. We're trying to make you better. We're trying to help you improve quicker so that you can play more. And he did play more as the year went on and played better. So that work, I think, has paid off to some extent. He still has a ways to go on defense, but he's much better.